Mercedes is planning to introduce massive upgrades to the W15, and it seems like the Silver Arrows have a little bit of understanding as to why the car's performance is so off balance after the Chinese Grand Prix. Having claimed just one top 5 finish out of the opening 5 races, the Silver Arrows have been the 5th fastest team at most. But their ultimate goal is to be race winner, championship contenders. And to march towards that goal, the Silver Arrows are fast-tracking important upgrades to Miami. With this in mind, what are the upgrades that Mercedes are bringing into Miami? Well, stick around to find out. After a poor start to the 2024 campaign, Mercedes doesn't plan on hanging around being the 5th fastest team for a longer period of time, which is why the team is on course to introduce a huge upgrade at the upcoming Miami Grand Prix. However, with all the issues Mercedes are currently experiencing with the W15, especially the drastic variations in car performance with respect to differing track temperatures and surface conditions, the nature of these problems seems way too complex. And it is still unclear if Mercedes have a proper understanding of the W15 to clearly know whether the Silver Arrows have the ability to fix all of those issues with just one upgrade over one race weekend. When talking about the primary deficit of the W15, Toto Wolff has talked certainly about the correlation issues his team is still facing, pointing out to an example of witnessing 70 points of downforce through certain sectors at Melbourne in the simulator, yet the team was unsuccessful in extracting that said downforce potential. 70 downforce points in simple terms translates to a performance delta of something between 1 and 1.5 seconds, some big potential not being used if it were true. So if this statement is accurate from Wolff, then Mercedes could either be super competitive following Miami and Imola, becoming regular podium challengers, or they will by the least take a step forwards, which is still a step short to challenge the likes of Ferrari and McLaren. Elaborating on the issues of the W15 around the tracks like Suzuka and China, Wolff added, "We have measured the downforce and we see it in the simulator, but we're simply not able to extract it in lap time, as we should and as the simulation tells us. The car is so complex in terms of aerodynamic and mechanical balance, as well as correlation. We have followed a certain trajectory in recent years, but without finding a full solution. So we've got to the point of saying, okay, we have to do something different. Because by measuring the downforce with our sensors and pressure taps, we have 70 points of extra downforce in a particular curve in Melbourne compared to last year, but we don't see them in the lap time." China took the confusing problems within the Mercedes W15 to the next level. Hamilton, benefiting from a wet qualifying, was able to take a second place finish at the Chinese sprint, but only managed to qualify 18th for the main event, and only managed to finish P9 in Sunday's race. For the vastly different performance, Hamilton quoted a significant setup change he made compared to his teammates being the cause, with the 7-time world champion accepting his mistake, believing that the car could not get any worse with whatever they do. But George Russell was quick to point out another problem with the W15 at this instance, something which we would like to call the ceiling of the 2024 Mercedes car. Russell post-race shared his thoughts on the W15's performance, both his and his teammates' vastly different setups, yet he reveals that the data does not show too much deviation of pace between the two Britons. Elaborating further, Russell went on to say, "We've had 2 different setups this weekend, both of which produce very similar lap times and performance," said Russell. So the work needs to be back at the factory and ultimately in F1. The more downforce you have, the faster you'll go. The setup is the cherry on the cake. From Russell's perspective, Mercedes needs to move away from analysis of finding a perfect setup and go back to the more standard approach of focusing on aggressive development and a run of upgrades, which is exactly what Mercedes have started right from China. The Silver Arrows have silently introduced certain bits to the W15, such as the added aerodynamic flick behind the halo to generate vortices, improving the car's rear end airflow, alongside minor detail changes the team has made to its front wing's final element back at China. And at Miami, Mercedes will be introducing a new underfloor, making improvements to both the top and bottom of the floor in terms of aerodynamic profiling, floor edges included, alongside introducing reprofiled bodywork. Examining the overhauled W15 throughout the first 5 races, Mercedes have found out yet another fundamental problem. By this time, the problem is rather aerodynamic rather than mechanical. Deeper analysis of the W15 has actually thrown up something intriguing, that the car's aerodynamic platform is able to produce all the predicted downforce, but that it is not actually bringing it any benefit in performance. According to reports, the discovery was made after the setup experiments the team carried out at Japan and China, much explaining Russell's blunt response as to where his team has to improve. The upgrades at Miami are particularly aimed to enhance the W15's aeromechanical interaction, which has been lacking, and stabilise the aerodynamic performance of the W15 at certain speed ranges, to use the downforce the car is able to produce with minimal waste. The update will address issues with fluid attachment, which has been impacting the car's performance. Additionally, adjustments to the central part and side pods area are expected. An increase in the side pods undercut by a few millimeters will be made, moving onto a more generic design to optimize airflow and increase rear downforce, particularly in combination with the beam wing configuration. It should be understood, and such, if Mercedes is able to unlock the said aerodynamic potential of the 70 downforce points with the Miami upgrades, then don't be surprised to see a W15 which is able to challenge the Ferrari consecutively, claiming the second fastest tag along. But the reality in Formula 1 is, there is no silver bullet to suddenly unlock such a performance advantage. We have seen this season how happy Ferrari are to have added 30 points of downforce over the winter development, stable performance gaining around 6/10 on Red Bull's advantage. Just seeing the downforce in the virtual world does not mean all of that is usable. The main issue Mercedes has been suffering with over the past seasons. That is because all the non-usable downforce will make the car act peaky, sudden emergence knocking the car off its sweet spot in terms of car setup. An important thing that Mercedes has to keep in mind is the fact that the W15 is a brand new car, nearly a 100% overhaul from its predecessor. Just because the upgrade unlocking aerodynamic potential won't guarantee the W15 gaining actual performance, as still the mechanical platform is in question, are the suspension and chassis in proper place to handle more downforce? Does the W15 have a mechanical platform which is able to sustain a 70 points downforce increase? That is yet to be seen. But Wolff believes the upgrades at Miami will be a good step for them, as the upgrades are more focused on making the aerodynamic platform more stable, enhancing the car's aeromechanical interaction, which is the primary problem the W15 has currently. Talking about this to a further extent at China, the team boss went on to say, "I think considering where we put the cars all together, drivers and team, was not a good position for today. Not good enough overall," he said. "Lacking pace. We've got to dig deep, and we have got something coming from Miami that looks like a good step. Let's see where that brings us out." Considering where the W15 is currently from a performance standpoint, and with Miami being another sprint race weekend, what do you guys think? Can Mercedes, with its next upgrade package at Miami, bring the W15 closer to being a regular podium contender? We are very much into your thoughts and perspectives in the comment section down below. And on your way down, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified of our future uploads, to keep yourselves up to date about the 2024 Formula 1 season.